Hi everyone, coming to you back in the office because Australia won the Ashes, so pretty excited. But that means we've retained the Ashes. If you don't know what that means, please Google it. So it's cricket. So Google Ashes and cricket, you'll understand. It's pretty exciting for Australians. In any case, I did just want to share something that's really hit me today or in the last 24 hours. And that's something that unfortunately probably affects so many of us with chronic illnesses, and that's social isolation. And, I've had fibromyalgia for 27 years. Um, so that predates social media and things like Facebook and so forth. And, so I know that, I found it very difficult when I had to give up work about 10 years ago because a lot of my social group at the time, the way I made friends with was either people near where I was living, around my age, or people I worked with. And so when I had to leave work, it was really tough to maintain friendships when you're not seeing people every day. So I went from working full time, I did scale back in the type of work I did, and then I had to leave completely. And I was on a disability pension for about 10 years. And not long after that, someone introduced me to Facebook, and gradually I found some online support groups for people with fibromyalgia and, chronic pain, those sorts of things. And so I started to make some friends that way. But it can be really tough when it's hard, can be hard to put yourself out there because we don't know these people, and it can be feeling quite vulnerable and that sort of thing. But I've sort of been in various loads of different groups over, say, the last 10 years or so, and I found it to be overall a really positive experience. I think with these sort of things, you get out of it what you put in. There's a lot of people that can be exhausting because their need to vent is very high. And other people join groups more to get questions answered because everyone's at a different point in their journey. Some are just recently diagnosed, some have been diagnosed 5-10 years ago, some are more like myself where it was decades ago. So it's quite a mix of people, but I found I've made some wonderful friendships with people over the years, also through YouTube, joining groups of people. I'm interested in true crime and other, different sorts of niche things. So I've met some wonderful people just through YouTube, through different communities on YouTube and those sort of things. And I guess I just wanted to share some of these thoughts because I really think it's worthwhile putting yourself out there to get it, whether it's to get questions answered from people who've been there before, and say and just get some advice. Although we'll come back to that in a sec. Or if it's just to try and build some friendships and just find, hey, I'm not the only one who feels like this, because that can be really reassuring. Because often, if we don't have a sounding board, we can really feel quite alone and wonder, gosh, am I the only one who experiences this? Particularly if we've, had the experience of doctors or medical practitioners or friends or family telling us, our symptoms aren't real, it's in our head, or just downplaying it. It's nice to know that there are hundreds and thousands of people out there who do experience these things and we're not imagining it. So that sort of validation can be really, really psychologically important. Or just to find a community of people with common interests outside of the illness, because I have fibromyalgia. I live a life with fibromyalgia, but not a life of fibromyalgia. So I don't like to think about it, well, really ever, unless I have to. So I like to do loads of different things. So, I've met some tremendously empowering, beautiful, kind, supportive people through other communities. As I said, you know, some through YouTube, and you know, that's just been so fantastic. I guess just coming back to two things I would say from experience to look out for. There are some downfalls, and it can be a little tough to spot, but once you kind of know what to look for, it's not as difficult. But there can be some toxicity online, and of course that's in real life as well. But you know, there's always some people who can create just a negative environment, and you know, everyone has some. We all have baggage. We all have a past. We all have, you know, our own issues. But I think, you know, when you have a chronic illness, particularly one that's exacerbated by stress, it's really important not to get sucked into, whether it's online or in real life, any sort of toxic or negative environment. So I would always say look for groups that are positive, supportive, reassuring, and that build up, that where the members build up each other. Don't, you know, bring each other down or aren't critical, because we don't need that, right? We don't need it. We're probably getting that elsewhere. So, you know, it's great when you can find a group of people, even if it's just a couple of people who you just know you can, you know, private message or, you know, and I mean, with Facebook, I mean, I know people might have privacy concerns. That doesn't bother me. That's me. But you know, I have a lot of friends in America, and you know, that's just how it's worked out. So I use private Facebook Messenger to talk to them, and it's for free, and we can have long conversations, and it's wonderful. You know, and there's Skype or Zoom or loads of other apps. You know, Discord communities. You can find communities. You know, a group of people I've met through YouTube now have a Discord group where we can chat at different times of the day. And it's just wonderful to find, you know, just little groups that are just so supportive and there to help build you up. And it just doesn't take much. It just takes a little bit of, you know, just started because I was interested in true crime and watched a couple of videos on YouTube, and it just kind of, you know, a year later, got a group of wonderful people who are, I can't tell you how fortunate I feel to have found some of them. And yeah, that's my advice. Anything toxic, you don't need to get rid of it. You don't need it. There's plenty of non-toxic, supportive people out there. They are definitely out there. And I think, and this, you know, this next thing is something that's really, really close to my heart and an absolute passion of mine. And that's the quality of health information that we get from the internet and from other sources, but particularly the internet, because, you know, it's the go-to source for most of us these days, right? We go to Google. And, you know, there's statistics that back that up. And particularly for us with, you know, major health conditions, if we you know, we do our own research, right? We all do it. So, but it can be really hard to work out the quality of information. So I'd be really cautious. You know, I know I'm in a number of groups and have been for fibromyalgia. And what really bothers me, and I'll tell you, this is the reason I started my post-grad research degree. For years, I was in fibro groups and whatnot and saw so much pseudoscience being talked about. You know, therapies that just had no evidence basis or had actually been disproven to be to work. That the research showed they didn't work, but yet people were trying to, you know, convince other people they worked. And these are expensive therapies. And, you know, we have to spend enough money on our healthcare, our medication as it is. And it really bothers me that there's so much of this around. So, yeah, that's something I always say. Just be really cautious of where you're getting your information. And I'm going to do more videos on this because this is what my thesis is about. The health information, doing a scoping review on lay summaries, and we're going to do more on that. So if you haven't heard of lay summaries, you will. You can Google that. They are the coolest. So always be just a little bit, just use some critical thinking. Analyze, where is that information coming from? What's the source? Always think, what's the source? So government websites can usually be well trusted. Department of Health websites, university institutes, they're always really excellent sources. Whereas, blogs, except for mine. When I do my blog, that'll be really good. So, yeah, exceptions. But overall, that's just a quick sort of snapshot of just some thoughts. But really, it's just, I guess, social isolation it hits all of us, and it's something that, can lead to depression or just feeling down, and it's a cycle. It's just a cycle. We don't need to. Because often, we're stuck in the house so much and feel like getting out because it's hard. And I know I don't like to hang out with people, who don't get it. It's an effort. But there are people out there online you can talk to. And, people often say online and the real world. I've been doing this for a long time. And when you meet the right people, that barrier, or that it meshes. It doesn't become a distinction. I was chatting to someone I absolutely adore yesterday who's in America, but it felt like she could have been next door, because we were able to chat through Messenger, and it just opens it up so much, and we're chatting for hours, and it was wonderful, and it's free, and it's, I guess we're limited by time zones, but there's a big crossover, especially with chronic illness. We were up all night and weird hours, so you work it out. But yeah, I guess that's hopefully some food for thought, and just sharing what I think is just so important. And I guess I want to really dedicate this video to the women and the people, mostly women that I've met online, who I just couldn't do without. You're all just spectacular in your own little way. So this video is for you. Never change, and you just make my life so much better. You have no idea. So thank you. And I keep forgetting to say this. I'm going to say this. Please like and subscribe. So, and someone who you think this video would be of use to, please share. And I will see you next time.